Our Washington executive editor, Al Hunt, is here in New York once again on set with me. Al, this is going to be a regular date for us as we listen to the president try to communicate just what progress is being made. And it's unclear at this point if there is progress. What news was there in what the president described today?
I actually think there's not a whole lot of progress, at least on the frontal issue of a big debt reduction package. What the president was doing today is, Margaret, the White House believes that over the last week, they've gotten the upper hand in this. Republicans overplayed their hand. This is what the White House believes. And the president was trying to reinforce what he did on Monday and what they've said during the week. That was the point of this news conference. There was no real news made in the sense of advancing the ball, other than the fact that I think he made it really clear, if you read between the lines, that the Mitch McConnell plan is something that he could buy off on.
That plan, and this is, as you point out, the second presser of the week.
It is. This is a guy who'd gone months and months without having one.
Right. And so clearly he feels it's important to emphasize to the country that they're on this. But that plan B, the Mitch McConnell plan, he said, it would help avert Armageddon, but it really doesn't deal with the issue of the debt ceiling. But he emphasized that this is really about politics. That's not a solution. However, you do think he would write off on that?
I do. I think what he's saying is we have to get the debt ceiling raised. It would be a cataclysm if you don't, and that ought to be done separately. That was their original position. They wanted to just get the debt ceiling, a clean debt ceiling. So he would do that. He'd pay whatever little price there is. Then you have to still address the spending cut issue and whether there'll be revenues, which I think will be almost impossible.
Well, it's interesting that you emphasize that you think he'd sign on to that, because that is the presumption when you speak to participants in the marketplace, that it's exactly that, some sort of short-term patchwork, get us through that date agreement, and not a lot of conviction.
Margaret, I think he'd sign off into it. I'm not predicting that the House would pass it.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's still a tough slog. A lot of conservative Tea Party Republicans would vote against that.
The president mentioned right off the top the wealthy have to participate, suggesting you got to pay more in taxes. Also emphasized drug companies are going to have to face some changes in tax policy as well. What do you believe will change for the business community?
Very little, actually. I think the business community, first of all, and the investment community just assumes that they're going to increase the debt ceiling because anyone logically would conclude that. They will ultimately, Margaret. There is the chance that they could go right to the cliff and even over it a little bit, though, before they do it. But I don't think you're going to get any sweeping changes in tax laws. I don't think you're going to get any sweeping changes in entitlements. I think you'll get some short-term, rather small ball stuff in discretionary and defense spending. That will deal through the election of 2012. That's not the long term.
Speaking of the election of 2012, you're going to be doing an interview in just a few moments, actually, with Tim Pawlenty.
I will.
You're going to ask him about this very issue, I would imagine.
Let's see what he thinks about what President Obama said today. Let's see what he thinks about Mitch McConnell's plan.
And that's going to air tonight
on Political Capital. And over the weekend. In case you have plans tonight, you can watch it over the weekend, Margaret.